taken. I believe in peace, but I won't be taken. I will not submit to authoritative man. I'm ready to die, but not for. See the signs appear. It's gonna happen here.
This is Liberty Underground with Alex Snicker, Danielle Alexandra, and Greg Bowen on the 1787 Radio Network.
Well, good morning, St. Petersburg, Clearwater, everybody out in Battle Creek, Michigan, everybody over in Butte, Montana, because I know that there's a city in Montana called Butte, Montana. Salt Lake City, hope you Mormons are having a good time out there. Everybody in Chernobyl. Well, there's not really anybody in Chernobyl.
There's nobody in Chernobyl.
Well, I'm sure that they got some people hanging out there. I've seen movies, so I know that there's some people that go there, but more for horror than anything else.
There's a camera crew in Chernobyl. Like, hey, guys.
Hey. Happy 4th of July, everybody. This is Alex, co-host at Liberty Underground. Even though it is July, I wish you had July 4th. Happy holidays for the 4th of July. Still love America. After the show, I hope, even though you might love America even a little bit less.
I'm offended. You said happy holidays and happy 4th of July. It's happy Independence Day.
Well, how many cities and counties are confused on when 4th of July is? Because a lot of them are having fireworks tonight. I even understand because it's, maybe it falls on a Thursday and you do it like on the Friday because that's the weekend. But when a holiday like Independence Day falls on the weekend, why would you move it up to the previous weekend night?
Yeah, that doesn't make sense.
I gotta tell you, I thought it was crazy, but yeah, I'm kind of with you guys on this one. Like, I don't understand why they have to do things Friday night. Well, hey, look, man, whatever. What are you gonna do?
Government can't even get holidays right.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's like government is so full of themselves that it's like, I understand that your holiday is on Saturday, but we don't care. We're doing our show on Friday, and you will like it.
Maybe what it is because they're listening to all the conversations that people are having. Maybe they heard collectively that we wanted it to be done on the 3rd.
Maybe they're testing us. Maybe this is part of Common Core.
I don't know. It could be. It could very well be. By the way, this is Alex, co-host Liberty Underground, along with doing stuff. My own personal Wikipedia.
It says so on my Twitter.
It says so on your Twitter.
I love that.
Danielle Alexandra. Danielle, how are you doing?
I'm doing well.
You love America?
Yeah, for a little while.
All right, then. Also in studio with us is a gentleman that needs, but I'm going to give him one anyway. He is the Prime Minister of all things that are the sinister. His name is Greg Evil Bowen. Greg, how are you doing, sir?
Spectacular.
That's good to hear, man. America. Today's key word, by the way, is America.
Is that like the drinking game? Every time you say America, take a
you
shot?
Yes. If you are listening to the show and engaged in a drinking game at the same time, then the key word for you to take a drink today will be America.
And since it's the 3rd of July and you're celebrating Independence Day, drink up.
Yeah,
take a double.
And there must be a lot of people home able to drink right now because there was nobody on the roads.
Well, a lot of places are closed today.
Yeah, and at least a third of the people on the roads had some form of watercraft on their vehicle. And kayaks, jet skis, big fishing boats, all that. All the way out here, that's all there was on the road.
So you're saying if anyone who is on land today, you're in a good place. You're going to get to places quickly. You're not going to be bothered. If you are in the jams, just traffic jams.
Yep, pretty much.
Yeah.
And what is that, Alex? America.
That's America.
I think anyone playing our drinking game will be drunk by now.
Could be. Yeah. Hold on, I do want to one thing. Uh-oh. I'm not actually going to eat this right this very second, but I want to say something. Is that if you can't see that, is my on? That is a little square of crack. Well, it's not actually crack. I don't know. Maybe my mom does put crack in it, but my mom makes these bars that are without a doubt my most favorite bar in the whole world, and it's sitting right here. I didn't even know, and it's totally right here. Man, I love my mom for a lot of different reasons, but this is one of them. This is
Is that in the top 5? Top 3?
Now, you have to understand, Alex's mom is like the nicest person. Like, she's just never angry. She's like, I think the one time we heard her curse ever was because of Obama. You know what I mean? Like, she's just, like, she's the mom that you see on TV, like the old time TV shows, And so so when I went to drop off Mikey this morning, she's like, "Hey, honey, I have a surprise." She's like, "Should I give these to you now, or should I wait until after the show and give them to Alex when he gets Mikey?" And I'm like, "No, I'll take them and I'll give him a couple. He'll wake up to him. He'll be really excited." So she's like, "Oh, okay." Like, she was so happy.
All right. Before we get into everything, I'll give you guys a story about my mom. When I was a kid, like any other kid, you get to a certain age and you want to sneak out at night, right? So
I've heard this story.
So we go ahead, and it was me and a couple buddies of mine, and we decided to sneak out of the house. Now, the way that my house worked where I lived at the time is that I had you have the crank windows that crank in and crank out, that you can crank out, and if you crank it, but it's one big window that cranks in and cranks out, but it's high, like they made them real high. Well, my bedroom had one of these, and I think at one point this was a garage that they converted into a bedroom, but it was like a long time conversion though. Like, it looks like it came with the frame. So my room was like that. So what we did is that we opened up that thing and we all snuck out, but you had to have your dresser in a certain spot, and then because you're just dropping off, and you're probably dropping off about 7-8 foot on the other side, so you ain't like you can land on something. Not a big drop, but when you're a kid though, 7 foot seems like a lot. So we do this at night. We all get in the jump out. We drive around on bikes or whatever, because I wasn't old enough to have a car or anything like that. So we get around on bikes. We're all driving around and stuff like that, and we get back home. And here's the scene. We get one person in. I'm getting in, and I'm in the middle, and my mom opens the door, catches us red-handed coming back in from sneaking out. And she's like, were you guys out at night? Were you guys sneaking out? We're like, yeah, we were. You shouldn't have been doing that. Are you hungry? Can I make you a sandwich? And made us all peanut butter and jelly sandwiches.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah. The funniest thing, I mean, honestly, and it's just the funniest thing as I'll get out, that she literally looked at us, was so and then, well, I'm sure you're hungry, so let me make you
hungry, honey?
You worked up an appetite while you were out being little hoodlums.
Yeah. And it was funny. One person was outside, one person was inside. I'm stuck in the middle between the two. And I'm
like Winnie the Pooh.
I'm straddling the window at this point, and she just opens the door, and it's just, "Alex, hi, what are you doing?"
I see that though, because your mom is just the sweetest lady.
She's like that, And when Mikey gets in trouble, there was one day Mikey got in trouble. I needed her to go over to the school and get him because I didn't have a car that day. And she's like, "Yeah, Alex was a little difficult too."
Yeah.
She is awesome though. She is just the sweetest lady, and I don't think I have ever seen her without a smile on her face. She's just always got a great attitude. And
well, I think she's kind of happy because she doesn't have to deal with the kids anymore. So.
Yeah, you're out of her house now, so I'm sure that's why she's always got a smile on her face.
I don't blame her. I don't blame her at all. So a lot going on this week, though.
Besides Patty Snicker making bars.
Even though I will say, out of everything that I know that on,
that's the best part.
That probably is the best one.
That may be the most important event of the week.
It's already moved up to past most other things right now at this point. I'm just looking at this going like, man, I wouldn't mind eating that thing right now, Merca. Take a drink. Everybody take a drink. So let's get into it first, though. We broke this story. Well, I wouldn't say we broke the story, but we first reported on it last week, but we did it very, very
well, it was right at the end of the show.
Right at the end of the show.
That the ruling came out.
And that if you are gay, You are now allowed to be married. The rest of us here in America.
Oh, don't say that. Because that implies you're miserable.
Well, no. I'm just kidding. But you know what I'm saying.
No, I don't know what you're saying. Why don't you explain it?
No, it's just a phrase. It's an expression. Everybody's miserable.
The stereotypical institution of marriage is one of misery and hardship. That's what he's getting at.
Yes. Typically, it's the case.
It's like, thank you, Greg, for saving me.
Totally threw that life preserver to Alex right there.
Grab it. So this past weekend was the first weekend, and this week was during the week that we have now seen the reaction to the gay marriage, the ban being lifted, basically. That it was shown that it was unconstitutional via the 14th. And now, if you're gay, you can get married. Gay people and people that support same-sex marriage are very, very ecstatic. People that opposed gay marriage are very, very, very upset.
Very sad.
There is, you know what, and here's the thing. I'll guarantee you this. Your average American was like, all right, that's cool. And fucking moved on with their lives.
Yeah. And then,
sorry.
And then got upset about the other. Didn't even care about gay marriage.
Yeah,
Got upset about everything else.
People who did marriage were very on the extremes of emotions. It was very, very happy and very, very angry because I have seen a lot of that are very upset right now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and look, here's my take on this whole thing. And I've had a lot. We've done a couple shows about this already in other places.
You've done a couple shows.
You haven't, but I've done a couple places about this. Look, hold on, I'm gonna let you go before I give a take here.
Well,
I want to bounce off of you, baby.
Okay. There's a few things. Now, listen, if you are a person who does not agree with same-sex marriage and you are shocked by this ruling, you haven't been paying attention. Because everybody at all that looked at how the reacting over the last 5 years knew what ruling was coming out. I mean, everybody knew.
It was already done. It was already done at a district court level, right? Is that what it is?
In
the District Court of Appeals.
What happened is 10 states have actually asked the Supreme Court to rule on this. In 9 of those states, a lower court has ruled their ban on same-sex marriage unconstitutional. Mm-hmm. Petitioning the Supreme Court to overturn that. And the Supreme Court denied even hearing their case. In the 10th case, the lower court upheld the same-sex marriage ban, and that's when the Supreme Court decided they were going to rule. So in 9 other cases, they're like, no, we're going to leave that lower court ruling the way it is. Their ruling stands. In the 10th case, the only one that's different, they said, yeah, we're going to take that one up, which means we already knew they had the votes to overturn it. Mm-hmm. And so just looking at why they took up this case and not any of the other cases, we already knew how they were. Not to mention that marriage has been ruled on by the Supreme Court in 14 previous cases. And in each case, they have ruled, and not just this Supreme Court, this is makeups of Supreme Court since the 70s, have all ruled that marriage is not only a constitutional right, but a human natural right. Every single time.
Yeah.
So if you had even looked at court precedent, looked at why they took up this case, you knew exactly how they were going to rule. This should come as no shock to anyone in the country.
It did.
It did. Apparently it did.
So what had happened was, but what you're saying though is correct. That it should have been no shock whatsoever. But people are just, it's the people that have so much buy-in to having the government make this definition for you that causes the problem. And again, the biggest problem is, somebody said, make sure I say it the right way. Somebody said that they were mad because the federal or the Supreme Court didn't really have the jurisdiction to get involved in this.
Which is totally untrue.
Hold on. In one aspect, you're right, that is totally untrue. In another aspect, that person is right. That, you know what? At the end of the day, the Supreme Court shouldn't have had any role to play in what was going on here. And the reason why is because the government shouldn't have had a role in who you marry to be able to do this. But because both sides, and it started with one side, it started with the side that was trying to protect marriage, wanted the government to get involved, you got what you asked for. In reality, you totally got what you asked for, whether you would want to admit it. Because the second that you said that I want the government to be able to make the decision as to who's getting married and who's not getting married, and you got to get permission and all of that kind of trash, all of that stuff, before you even did all that stuff, you shouldn't have had the government involved to begin with. And here's why, bingo, because they'll make rulings like this that you don't like.
And here's the thing for people who are, I'm sorry, Greg, go ahead. I know you're going to say something. For anyone who, because I've seen this a lot, well, the Supreme Court's decision isn't final. They don't really have jurisdiction here. No, actually, when we say that the states have the right to fall on the 10th Amendment, that's a state sovereignty issue between the states and the federal government as far as the legislative branch and the executive branch. What the states don't have is authority to overrule the Supreme Court. And that's constitutional. And I hate when people say, well, they don't have the constitutional authority to do this. Then you haven't read the Constitution.
It's actually exactly what authority they have.
That's actually what they're there. There's a very long list of what the Supreme Court has jurisdiction over, and one of them is appeals. The other one is, and this is a direct quote, controversies between two or more states or that involve the entire U.S. Mm-hmm. They're there to settle controversies. The word controversies appear in the Constitution under the authority of the Supreme Court.
That's crazy, by the way.
So for all these people,
these guys were smart, dude.
They were. Mm-hmm. And listen,
they were all smoking hemp, by the way. They were sorry for different things.
The states are supposed to have sovereignty from the legislative branch and from the executive branch. What they don't have is sovereignty from the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court is absolutely supposed to be ruling on these things when them themselves. That is when the Supreme Court steps in and rules. And they did. And anyone who didn't see this ruling coming really wasn't looking.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, you were hoping for something else. Now, look,
you totally weren't looking both ways before you crossed the street.
All right, yeah. Now, and let me say this. Go ahead, Greg.
Well, there's the people who are upset about this, and the disingenuous, the people who are coming from the side where they're opposing this, because before Friday, it was the government's role to define marriage. They wanted constitutional amendments. They wanted the Supreme Court. They wanted legislators. Anybody who's going to give them the definition of marriage by the government that they want, they're in full support of. And then this ruling comes down on Friday, and now all of a sudden, well, government shouldn't be involved in marriage anyway. I'm sorry, all of you people who wanted a constitutional amendment last week, and now you're suddenly taking the libertarian position this week. I don't believe you. I don't buy it. I'm glad that you came over to the right side of the issue for all the wrong reasons, but I don't believe you. And you're very disingenuous. And that's fine that you agree with us, but it really is a matter of taking your ball and going home. You can't get the result you wanted out of the court, so you'd rather government be out of it completely. Well, if the gays can now get married, then no one should be married according to the government. That's really what they're doing. Yeah. And I see it exactly for what it is.
Well, yeah, Greg, but who gives a crap at that point, though? That's the right answer. Well, I don't care how you get to the right answer, to be honest with you. No caring whatsoever. Matter of fact, to happen for one of the sides to get to the right answer. Like, again, both sides are wrong. On the gay marriage debate, if you say, well, we should have gay marriage, and the government should be, the government should recognize
sponsored
it,
gay marriage.
Yeah, if the government should recognize it, you're wrong. If we shouldn't have it, and the government should recognize that you shouldn't have it, you're wrong. Both sides are wrong, and you know what? Somebody needed to get their ass kicked. That's what they needed to do. Somebody needs to get down to the. You remember Fight Club, right?
Can't believe you're going to do a Fight Club.
I'm going to do a Fight Club reference right here. You remember Fight Club, right?
Of course I remember.
It's only after you've lost anything or everything that you can do anything.
Yep.
They somebody needed to lose everything. Somebody needed to just straight up lose everything because now we can actually do what's needed. And here's the thing. What's great is you see around the country, actually, is that states are saying, we're just not going to do marriage licenses anymore. You know, people are like, I'm going to resign from my job at the county clerk's office because I can't do this. More of them should do it. They should quit. Everybody quit. Everybody stop what you're doing. Everybody quit. Nobody do anything, right? Everybody just stop. You know why? Because the end goal is that the government shouldn't play a role in it anyway, and that we should totally just get out of the business entirely. And if this is what's going to cause all the conservatives to actually start agreeing with our opinion, then so be it. Because you know what? The Democrats believe like the conservatives believe, or the Democrats believe like the Republicans believed as late as 2008 and 2010. Because Obama, gay marriage, like he's taking a victory lap. Like this guy didn't actually say that I don't support gay marriage 4 years ago or 5 years ago. Said it on TV everywhere. I have marriage between one man and one woman. That's what I'm saying. Let me be clear. You know, I'm Barack Obama. That was my first attempt ever to try to impersonate Barack Obama. By the way,
It didn't go well.
No, that was a failure.
I'm Barack Obama. Let me be clear. Marriage between one man and one woman.
It sounds more like an amalgamation of the first George Bush and Bill Clinton.
Yes.
Maybe that's who Barack Obama is.
He really is. Well, Bill Clinton,
Bush Senior.
They said Bill Clinton was the first black president, and you know maybe they had a love child.
I'm just saying. I'm just throwing that out there. Where was I at?
No, you're better.
So this is where Barack Obama was. So for all the people that are like, well, Barack Obama's a hero for doing this guy was a political opportunist. They didn't change his mind publicly until he thought it was safe to be able to do it. So if you're gay, you shouldn't like Obama any more than you shouldn't like Hillary Clinton, by the way, who wasn't for you either. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, that's the part that's the only political party that was actually with you. The only one. So from the beginning. Again, let's put a little bit of historical perspective into this one.
That's where I wasn't going to go with this next,
Okay.
actually.
No, then give the historical perspective.
Well, actually, what I was going to lead into it with was there was an article on Saturday last week that I read about Bernie Sanders, and it was about how Bernie Sanders is getting the Democrat Party and has more credibility than Hillary. One of those reasons is because Bernie Sanders has supported gay marriage since 2000 and Hillary Clinton has only supported gay marriage since 2004. So Sanders came around on this decision earlier than Hillary Clinton did. And I was like, oh, well, I'm glad Bernie Sanders came around year 2000 because, you know, gay rights have been a part of the Libertarian Party platform since 1972.
Right.
72.
72.
72.
71 when it started.
The party was founded in 71. The actual platform didn't come until 72. There was a lot of debate over the platform and everything. Once the platform was ratified, gay rights were a part of it in 1972.
In addition to that, our first presidential candidate was openly gay.
He was an openly gay man.
The first openly gay presidential candidate to ever get an electoral vote is a Libertarian Party candidate.
Yeah.
Right.
So here's the thing, and again, I think that the Libertarian Party is not the gay party; it's the Freedom Party. So if you want to be gay and be free, we're the party for you. My problem is that these Democrats and Republican scumbags, by the way, they didn't give one crap about you. They didn't care. They latched on at the end after you did all the work, and then they want to walk around and take a victory lap and paint the White House in flag or in rainbow colors. You know, like screw you scumbag. Like that's what irks me. It's almost like the same thing when the Democrats like take up like the weed issue. Like piss off, all right? You know, or they say they're anti-war. Like piss off. Like seriously. Like these issues, you guys latch onto them, you know, because you think it's cool, you know, and they're like, oh yeah, well look how forward-thinking the Republicans and the Democrats have been. Let me smell my own ass because I fucking love the way it smells. You know?
Yeah, they get so proud of themselves.
Sorry.
They get so proud of themselves for winning the race, but a libertarian was driving and the libertarians were manning the pit crew.
Yeah.
So you're welcome.
Yeah, until you threw us out. So, at any rate, though, look, at the end of the day, though, this is my message to the ones that are pro gay marriage. Hey, congratulations. Now you have permission to get married.
Yeah.
How about we work on making it so you don't have to get permission to get married in order for you to get married? It's the best solution, and it solves another major problem that we have in this country, which is the family court.
Go ahead.
So, are you going to disagree with that one?
Well, no, I don't. We would have to have some more steps to get rid of family court, but I understand it would be the right direction to get rid of family court.
Because if the government isn't recognizing marriage anymore, then that requires everybody have to get the contract, and that requirement to get the contract is how you'd be able to eliminate family court. Mm-hmm. So, all right, so if you are a pro-gay marriage person, you want the government out of this stuff anyway, so let's go ahead and make that happen. So it's not over. Let's get the government out of the gay marriage thing. Now, if you hate gay marriage, I am sorry that you feel so bad. Maybe now you'll realize that the libertarians were right, and that the right solution that everybody should be able to agree on is that the government doesn't. Because if you would like the government to play a role, we kind of see what happens. Like, if you're looking for what happens when we do this, Exhibit A, last week and up there, now the government's going to recognize it. So you either stand with us and get this thing fixed, or be prepared for rainbow colors at your local tax collector's office or wherever they get married at. be prepared for that. And one or the other, guys. Seriously, one or the other.
It's the clerk of court, but
Collector's offices.
Yeah, they're basically. But I know that there's even been debate kind of between libertarians. I don't feel like this ruling grew government at all. I think that there was many different laws that banned gay people from getting married, which this ruling actually gets rid of. So I do think that it takes away government. The government system of marriage license is already. I mean, it's not like that grew government. The system was there. I mean, we may not like that the system was there, but it was. So, there's like this big debate of, this just grew government. No, it didn't. I mean, you obviously have never been married because you don't understand that this system exists already.
Yeah.
What prohibited gay couples from going in there and participating in that system was laws that are now going to have to be stricken off the books. So you actually have less laws because of this ruling. So I don't see this as something that grew government at all. And I do think that if we're going to have something like marriage licenses, it does have to be open to everybody. And that's just the way it is. And even looking at, a lot of people don't like that the 14th Amendment is there. There's some controversy over whether it was ratified correctly. And, using that. But if you're in the state of Florida, we have the same equal protection under the law clause within the Florida Constitution. So for anyone in the state of Florida, you have no argument. Whether you like the 14th Amendment or not, we have the same thing, which was here for the right reasons, and there's no, controversy over whether it's applicable, and we have it here. So in Florida, we never should have had a gay marriage ban because we do have equal protection under the law in the Florida Constitution. So, this is something, I do think that you had a segment of people who were being denied something that other people were not being denied. And I think for them to not be denied anymore is a good thing for liberty. I think this was a good thing. But I do believe it was a first step in the right direction, and the right step is to get rid of it altogether. But the system is in place, and you have to apply that system to everybody because I know that there's a lot of people that are like, well, I don't really care about it. It doesn't affect me and things like that. But you had people where they were denied just being able to say, I'm married to this person, and have other people be able to recognize that. And if you are married, you don't understand being denied that right. So while it may not have been a big issue for you, it is a big issue for almost anyone who's been denied that right. So I think that this is a great thing, and I can't wait to see how the other states handle this and just licenses to be, completely, which is, I think this is going to push for that, and that's a good thing.
Yeah, no, it is. You're absolutely right.
And basically, the people who are arguing that the 14th Amendment doesn't apply, yes, it was a Reconstruction Amendment. It came after the end of the Civil War.
Right.
southern states didn't ratify it because you weren't technically states yet. You were still rebels. You had broken off from the country. You guys didn't ratify it. Unfortunately, to the victor goes the spoils. You lose this. You may not like it. I don't like it, but that's how it happens.
But in Florida, that's not even up for debate because we have the same thing here. So even if you don't
we
like
have
it,
a state constitution
Right.
that says the same thing.
So, and many states do. Not all of them, but most states do. So, in most other states, even if you don't like the 14th Amendment, it was protected anyway. So really get over it.
Alrighty then. And by the way, happy 4th of July.
On the 3rd.
Happy Independence Day.
On the 3rd. All right, so let's get into also everybody remember what happened in South Carolina. And that during that, in that shooting, the person that did all those terrible things, evil person, by the way.
Evil racist.
Evil racist. What he did was he had other pictures that happened before him that had the Confederate flag there. And there has been a major uproar in regards towards not only the Confederate, but now it's morphed into anything that is like even Civil War related.
I think it's almost anything that's Southern at this point.
Yeah.
Like grits are racist now.
I haven't seen the grits are racist one, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's not. If it's
Southern
not coming.
style biscuits, racist.
So what has happened though is that this thing has morphed, and I got to tell you, look, I think that what happened up in South Carolina is really a tragedy, and I think that evil person should be brought to justice. And I'm a pro death penalty guy, so you stick a needle in that cat, and we're going to go and have him go to town.
Which the Supreme Court upheld that you can do a lethal injection.
Even with botched stuff.
Another ruling that nobody cared about because of gay marriage.
Yeah.
So, but with that being said, if you are going to go out there and try to make it a point to get rid of every stars and bars that's out there, like you got some serious time issues where you need to really find another hobby, because these people are going so far now and this is where I had to draw the line personally. You're trying to ban the Dukes of Hazzard, like, because on the car that they have is the flag that says the General Lee on it, like it's the Confederate flag and the General Lee, and somehow that's racist. Like, these guys, it was a TV show about moonshiners evading the law. That's really what it was about. It was
And they
about
were white.
moonshine. And they were, and they were all white.
Well, no, what I'm saying is they were the ones that were evading the law. They were the ones that were breaking the law, and they were.
Uncle Jesse.
Yeah, it's not like they made the criminals black guys.
They were white guys.
I will say
breaking
this.
the
I
law.
will say this for the Dukes of Hazzard, though. Whenever they had like a new black guy that they brought into town, though, more than likely he was a criminal, though. I'm just saying, if you think about
I
it.
didn't really watch the
But
show.
normally
I
he
have
was
no
with some
idea.
white guy, though, and they were both criminals. So it wasn't like, it was equal opportunity on the criminal side. Almost any outsider seemed to always be a criminal.
Yeah, if you weren't Boss Hogg or Roscoe P. Coltrane, then you dipstick.
Boys.
They're basically the only law. And,
Yeah. Look, and here's my take on the flag issue here. Look, I think Florida a long time ago, and Jeb Bush, you got to give him credit for it. I think they did the right thing. I think it belongs in a museum, and that's what you do with it. You take the flag, you put it in a museum. In front of the Capitol, the state capitals, maybe you don't put that flag up there.
Well, I think especially in a state like Florida, where we did have not only, we were technically a part of the Confederacy, but many of the Union cavalries were actually trained here. They had, many people from Florida that made up these Union cavalries. We really were a very split state on what side we were on. So I think in Florida, maybe in some of the other southern states, especially, and I do understand why it's a controversy in South Carolina and why some people want to keep it, because that is where, where everything started. A place like Florida, we had so much North and Southern influence, even at the time of the Civil War, where you were really representing only half of the state by having it up.
Snowbirds even in the 1800s.
They were.
Mm-hmm.
Here's the thing, though, and I think this is where the anti-flag people really need to come to an understanding. And I think there was actually just a poll that was done, is that most Americans think that the stars and bars, that it's a heritage thing, not a racial thing.
Right.
And I think for a lot of those people, that's exactly what it is that what you're doing is you're basically attacking their heritage. They don't view that flag in a racist way. They view that flag as a Southern kind of pride thing. And I know that there's a lot of people that view it as a racist thing, but that's not how the other people are viewing it, and you have to respect the views of others. So, and if somebody wants to fly that flag on their private property, I say you let them have it. And they should never make a law or a rule against it. And for the stores that are banning it, look, you got every right to ban it, by the way. You got every right to not sell it if you don't want to sell it. If you're Sears or JCPenney or eBay or Walmart or Amazon and you don't want to sell the flag, then go ahead and don't sell that flag. And I respect your decision to do that. But here's the thing: if you're going to start doing that, then we're going to have to maintain for me not to call you a bunch of damn hypocrites. I'm going to go ahead and say that you need to be maybe a little more selective on Che Guevara shirts and flags, because that guy's killed a whole ton of people.
Way more racist than the South.
Yeah. Yeah.
Way more. Like, it isn't even a contest.
Yeah.
Like the Southern whites enslaved blacks. He just wanted them dead.
Yeah. So maybe you don't bake the ISIS cake. Maybe. Maybe you don't sell Nazi flags because they've killed a lot of people. Anything that's from China because they've killed hundreds of thousands of people. No Russian things because, well, they killed hundreds of millions of people a long time ago. American flag anymore because that was under that was under things as well. So basically, everything that you're selling right now, you should just stop selling all of it. You should have nothing on but like Care Bears made in Arkansas.
All they can sell anymore are Canadian flags.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Because Canada's never hurt anybody.
Is good. Nobody hates maple syrup.
And moose. You can have, moose, some moose.
And you should
flags.
sell my mom's bars. That's what you should sell. You should sell my mom's bars. So, again, look, if you don't want to sell it, don't sell it. I'm perfectly fine with that. I didn't do business with most of you people anyway, and I'm not going to call for a boycott or anything like that. But what I am saying is, you know what, man? If you guys are that sensitive about it, then maybe I'll give you my money.
Well, I mean, listen, and there are people, boycott Walmart because of this. Like, really, this is what put you over the edge?
Yeah.
Like, of all the things that Walmart does, never mind walking into a Walmart and having to deal with a Walmart. Yeah. Like, this is what pushed you over the edge? Seriously. Like,
You got issues.
like, we stopped going to Walmart because we walked into Walmart. It was like, oh man, this place sucks.
Yeah.
This isn't worth the cheap prices.
Target, where you pay a little more to not deal with the people of Walmart.
So, hold on, Danielle. Was there anything else in the gay marriage thing that you wanted to talk about?
Well, we are
I'm
going on
sorry.
to the two
Yeah, we're
hazards.
on the South.
Hold on. Is there anything else on the flag issue that you want to talk about?
No, I mean, I think this whole thing is just, dumb. I think that, and I think that there's a huge opportunity for someone with a little capital to create, rebel flag stores, have them every, especially in the South, and maybe it wouldn't go so well like in New York, but
Yeah.
They could be surprised.
But I think that, there's a gaping hole in the market for someone who's got a little to start selling rebel flags. But other than that, I mean, I think we've, it's just a dumb issue. And I think people need to really get over it, because banning a flag doesn't stop racism. So for everyone like, oh yeah, now Walmart's not selling it. Now Amazon isn't selling it. Now all these places aren't selling it. What did you win? I mean, do you think, all of a sudden that racist guy down the street is no longer racist because he can't get a Confederate flag? Seriously? Like, now that I can't fly my Confederate flag, I totally love all people. Like, seriously.
Yeah.
Moved up the list in the e-shop. Nazi flags. I'll just get one of those.
Well, fascism isn't necessarily a bad thing at that point, I guess, right? All right, so, but while all this is going on, it turns out that the NSA was actually collecting your voice calls, photos, passwords, documents, and much, much more. And then it wasn't just about the metadata. Is that while the two stories that we just spent 39 minutes talking about, and I'm not saying this to be dismissive of those two issues, but they pale in comparison to the fact that our government was listening to our friggin' phone calls and has been lying about it for years. As a matter of fact, when they caught them they lied about the metadata, and then Snowden took all those documents and showed that they were lying about that. Then when Snowden put all this stuff out, he was like, well, we're not, all we're doing is the metadata. We're not doing anything else. It comes to find out now that from a report from The Intercept that they're scooping up everything. Okay, and again, some of the highlights from the report as well. So let me just read a couple of these things here. So the X keystroke database is fed a constant flow of internet traffic from fiber optic cables that make up the back of the world's communication network, among other sources for processing, the new report writes. Its servers all of this data for up to 5 days and stores the metadata of this traffic for up to 45 days.
That's your key. That's everything that you're plugging into Google for Google searches, and so that people know what the X key score means. Anytime you're typing anything into an online system, it is being collected and held for 5 days, and store the data for up to 5 days and possibly 45 days.
Yeah, web traffic wasn't X keystrokes only target. In documents posted by the Intercept, it was able to gather data like voice recordings. A list of the Intercept data included pictures, documents, voice calls, webcam photos, web searches, advertising, analytic traffic, social media traffic, botnet traffic, logged keystrokes, computer network exploitations, Intercept usernames and password pairs, file uploads to Skype sessions, and more. What else do the internet, by the way?
I mean, and here's where was it that John Oliver special where they went out and talked to people and was like, do you care about the NSA, collecting all your data? And they're like, no. And they're like, what about your, the pictures of your junk? Oh, no. Well, no, that's
well, they got to do something about
it. Well, they have it. They have it. The webcam photos, I mean, this is what they have. How many people that are in relationships from a distance are Skyping things they wouldn't want other people to see? Well, guess what? The government's watching.
Yep. How the search worked is very advanced. The new documents detail all the ways that the analysts can query. All right, I'm not going to keep reading this. I'm sorry. But basically, they were able to do all of this stuff. Now,
and get your username and password. Basically, any of these online systems, your banking, everything that you use a username and password for, they were pulling it and keeping it and holding it for 5 to 45.
Yeah. The NSA actually, in a statement to The Intercept, claims that all of its intelligence operations are authorized by law. It added, NSA goes to great lengths to narrowly tailor and focus its signal intelligence operations on the collection of communications that are most likely to contain foreign intelligence or counterintelligence information.
Let's do this on the air. Let me bring you on there, and you can say that on there.
Who is calling? So we'll figure that out in a second. But at any rate...
Well, there's going to be a little bit of a delay, so you might want to just turn the volume down on that.
Yeah, tell them to turn it down on that stuff. But at any rate,
right, let me transfer
this is what they were doing. They've been lying to us the entire time. Look, all of the people that are in charge of the CIA, the NSA, and all these other organizations should all be just straight fired, and they should bring new people in, because every one of the people that's up there right now is a friggin' liar. All right? They've come out and made statements. Anybody that's come out and said that they're not doing this should be fired.
Well, they lied. And not only that, they lied under oath to Congress.
Yes, that's right. They should be in jail. Anybody that went to Congress and that lied about it in front of Congress should be put to jail.
Yeah, no, and they should be.
Absolutely should be. So, but on the line right now, though, is...
We have Karen from Tampa. Karen, you there?
Oh, Karen, go ahead.
Yes, I'm here. But you know what people are going to say is I have nothing to hide, so why should I worry?
Well...
And that's the scary part, because we didn't know they were watching in Europe. At least everyone knows that they're being watched, but they have nothing to hide. In Europe, they banned they know it was being banned. I mean, we're going into this really slippery slope. How far can the government go?
And this is how. Go ahead, Karen.
Now, that's what people don't realize, is that this slippery slope is, we're starting with divulging some information that we did, and it's going to be a little bit more and a little bit more and a little bit more. Slowly on, they're taking complete control. And people are like, we took that one little first step, but it's okay, I have nothing to hide. And it goes on, and that's what people don't realize. The same with the flag. Oh, we're going to ban a flag. Oh, it's just a flag. still the part that not everything's going to be banned, and then the government is going to tell shall ban it. They don't want to sell it. It's up to me. That's their decision. I might ban the store because they're not selling it. It's the individual right that's not being protected, and that's what we're doing.
No, absolutely. To explain it to people like this, because I hear that argument all the time is, well, if I have nothing to hide, who cares? But if you wouldn't invite a federal agent or a police officer to follow you around, to sit in your bedroom while you're house, and to be with you every second of every day, then you shouldn't allow it to be done digitally, because it's the same thing. If you wouldn't want a federal agent in your house saying, hey, what are you cooking for dinner? Oh, what are you doing over there in your bedroom? And literally following you pictures the entire everything you do. You're going to the bathroom, you're taking a shower, federal agent, a law enforcement officer is there watching. If you wouldn't be comfortable with that, then you shouldn't be comfortable with allowing them to do it digitally, because it is the exact same thing. We only made it easier for them to do it.
In addition, though, and this is where I think this is where I think that Karen, I think that you don't. I don't want to say you don't understand, but I think you may not be taking into account exactly how far they actually have gone this time. That normally you will hear that argument from people. Normally you hear that argument about, well, if you got nothing to hide, then you got nothing to worry about. When it's coming out now, that the John Oliver thing, because it's crass, but it totally works. They have your dick pics. They got your dick pics. And you know what? That's the one area where people were, because people would make that same argument until they said, well, we have these pictures of you as well. And then they go, well, now you can't have that. So, like, we have to, when we go out there and explain it to people, I think you actually have to explain it to them. What is the worst picture that you ever took, or the best picture you ever took? I guess it all depends on which way you're thinking about it. But what's the worst picture that you ever took that you never want anybody to see? They have that one.
Right.
You know, that's what they have, and that's what they have the ability to collect on you. Are you still okay with them doing it? And most everybody's going to say no, and they say, well, they're doing it to you anyway. So you need to make sure that you're, you know. Go ahead.
Yeah, how about it? Every time you go on the internet, there will be a question of, do you realize that everything that you're doing on the internet is being watched, and it can go to this and this and this and this person, your worst enemy, your worst neighbor, and click yes if you still agree to go on the internet. Do you think anyone will be on the internet?
I think a lot of people would think, well, here's the thing, what they will do is they will think twice about where they go and what they do.
And what they say.
That what is looked at on the internet and what is seen on the internet, which is probably what they want.
Yep.
So, all right, anything else, Karen?
No, I have a lot to say. I'm not going to hold you up any longer.
All right, thanks for calling, Karen. And made a good point, by the way. Good point by Karen. I really appreciate that.
I love
Karen.
Thanks, Karen.
Thank you very much. We'll see you later. All right. So it comes to find out, this is one of those things that's just like so amazing. Like, we knew they were doing this. Like, we totally knew they were doing this anyway. But we would try to keep the conversation into, you know, able to prove first off. But we knew they were doing this stuff, man. And look, and I know this isn't going to happen, but egg should be on the face of our representatives. All of them that said that they weren't should all have egg on their face. All the neocons and everything should all be just, you know, eating crow right now. They're probably going to try to make a statement. It's like, I always said they were doing this, and it's still okay. That's probably what they're doing. And they're like, we need to drone bomb Edward Snowden because he shouldn't have come out with this.
Yeah, because apparently he's the one that's wrong in this situation for telling us that our government is spying on every single thing we do.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, of course he's wrong, because if he tells everybody that they're spying on all of us, how are they going to be able to spy on all of us? We're not going to tell all of our secrets on the phone anymore.
It's just, and again, this is all done in the name of safety, but it doesn't keep us any more safe. And the reason why that stuff like this doesn't keep us any more safe is because they really do collect way too much information to be able to focus on any of the information that they're actually collecting on, which is why the Boston bomber was able to get away with what they were able to get away with, because they were warned about this. It's the way the shoe bomber was able to get away with what he was able to get away with, the underwear bomber was able to get away with it, that all these people that people called, like the underwear bomber's dad called and said, hey, I think my son's probably going to try to do something airplanes, and then this guy's on one of the planes like, wow, his dad called in, but what do we care about that? Like, Are you people mentally insane?
And who stopped it? A stewardess, not the TSA, not the FBI, not anybody else.
Yeah.
A freaking stewardess.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and the same thing with the shoe bomber. Who stopped the shoe bomber? Vigilant citizens sitting in their seats going, oh, that doesn't look right.
Yeah. And you know what would have, by the way, two things. A lock on a door and a gun.
Yeah.
And if you put those two things on the planes, 9/11 doesn't even go down the way. 9/11 doesn't even happen that way. Like, it so irks me as how into a lot of these problems were simple, and yet they come up with nice sounding things like the Patriot Act in order to get things done. It's almost like they take advantage of the situation to advance their own agenda. Man, I wonder if I've ever seen the government do that before. Oh, good crisis, don't let a good crisis go to waste. Oh, yeah, I remember. That's exactly what happened, you dicks! You freaking dicks, man, I swear! Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry.
Like, seriously, this is the most, like,
I'm mad.
riddled hour we've ever had on air.
I'm mad right now. I'm very angry. I'm very angry right now. I'm sorry. I apologize. I'm just very angry. I can't believe you're doing this stuff, Danielle. Come on, you gotta be with me on this.
I'm completely with you that I don't like that they're doing this stuff. But there's a big difference between being angry and then putting out curse words over the air so that anyone who wanted to watch this show with their children are like, oh, I can't.
That might be a good point too. Yeah. I wouldn't watch this with my kids though, because it would be.
Well, Mikey's young.
Yeah. So, and if you're a little bit older than that, then maybe you should hear the words anyway. No, I'm just kidding. You shouldn't hear the words. Bad words. I'm sorry. My apologies to all the audience out there. Lord, I apologize. So, Edward Snowden puts all this stuff out. And Glenn Greenwald, I got to tell you, though, this guy is a patient dude, by the way.
He
Yeah.
is.
He is a very patient guy. He will put the stuff out right when he needs to put it out. I got to give Glenn Greenwald a lot of credit on this stuff, because what he'll do, he'll let everybody have all the rope they need to hang themselves with, and he'll just snap that rope back. Well, here you go.
And that's the thing. You know, they actually don't know how much Edward Snowden has. The guys at the top in the NSA, in the federal government, nobody knows exactly how much he has. But we all know that Glenn Greenwald has it all. And whatever he has, Greenwald has it. So when he's just sitting back and you're like, oh, no, we never do that. We don't even have the way to do that. As soon as you say that, if there is any evidence that you are lying, he probably has it. Like, the fact that, like, and this is what we need to look at. These are supposed to be the smartest guys. They're in intelligence. That's the whole name of their field of study is intelligence. And you weren't even smart enough to keep your mouth shut when you knew there was evidence out there and you didn't know who had it.
Well, you know, I don't think they care, though. I just don't think that they cared.
But at some point, you knew you were going to look like a...
I think they think they
Well, I mean,
look like liars.
They look like liars all the time.
But you know what I'm saying? Like, when you're like, oh, let's settle the public down. No, we don't even have a way of doing that. I don't know what you're talking about. Like, you have no idea what Edward Snowden has, and you know that you're doing it, so you know that. And just because they didn't put it out right away doesn't mean they don't have it, because Greenwald has already said, I have many, many more documents, proof of much more, and we're going to decide when and if they should come out.
Yeah, well, and I think what they're doing is they're doing a lot of other investigating to get to the bottom of things.
And to make sure that what they have is accurate, and to make sure that because the one people who are doing this responsibly is Glenn Greenwald and Edward Snowden.
And they have to. Well, no, Edward Snowden doesn't do anything.
He doesn't do anything, but when he handed it over, he went he wanted to make sure that he went to a source that was going to do this in a responsible manner, and he did. And Glenn Greenwald has absolutely made sure that everything he puts out is absolutely accurate. They have researched every single thing to make sure that they don't cause a mass hysteria without there being facts behind it.
That's right.
I wish the government could do the same.
They're not that skilled. They're too inept.
It was so funny last night when I seen this, and I'm like, well, it turns out the NSA was collecting your voice calls, photos, passwords, documents, and much more. It's like it was one of those things where it's like you knew it. To listen to these guys lie over and over and over again, and to basically call everyone else that believes that this is what they were doing is like some kind of wild conspiracy theory person. Like, it really pisses me off. And what I hope the media does, and I know they're not going to do this, but what I hope the media does is that for For scumbag people like Lindsey Graham, John McCain, Marco Rubio, and all the other ones that were saying that the government wasn't doing this stuff, I would like to get a quote from you now, you scumbags. I would like a quote, and now I want you to explain that they're not doing this, and you can explain to the American people as to why you didn't know about these things. I want to hear it coming from Rubio's mouth now. You know what I mean? This authoritarian psychopath scumbag who probably so much knew about it, he was probably listening in on the conversations too.
Well, I was against it before I was for it.
Yeah. I wish we had a media person that would actually ask these guys these questions. So you claim that they weren't doing this. This is showing that they are doing this. Care to explain your position?
Too bad Nick and like Mike Deason can't just interview everyone.
Yeah. We need them on a national.
You want to know who to ask? Those two.
Yeah.
You know what, man? As a matter of fact, let's make sure we message those guys, because here's the thing: Noah Pransky will probably have an opportunity where he's going to be in front of some politicians.
Yeah.
In front of some of the guys like Rubio and them.
Maybe, and they may start to blackball those guys because those guys actually ask legitimate questions.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I'd like him to ask that question, especially as Sugar. Especially Sugar. Because I actually think Sugar will be the one that would admit it. Yeah, we were doing it. What are you going to do?
Well, I think he's proud of it.
Yeah, we were doing it. We're going to do it some more.
Yeah.
That's how we keep people
I'm going to do
safe.
it now. I'm going to put you on that list. I'm going to put files on you. I'm going to put shoe program.
Shoe program. King Kong ain't got nothing on me.
I'm sorry. It was a training day.
Yes.
Oh.
No.
Love that movie.
I'm going to start investigations on you. All right. Well, you know, it is that I hate to say that we told you so, but we friggin' told you so. We totally did. And it looks like, again, all this other stuff that matters with gay marriage, Dukes of Hazzard, them taking down the flags, all this other stuff pales in comparison to the fact that they were listening to every one of your conversations and recording them and keeping them. That your photos, your passwords, your documents, the NSA was taking it all, and you're worried about gay marriage.
And they know how to whip you into a frenzy. They know how to manipulate your emotions. They know how to manipulate you. And everything they do, the gay marriage, the flag, all of it, every time they whip you into a frenzy over some insignificant, useless issue like the flag, the rebel flag, there's something else going on that they are distracting your eye away from.
Yeah.
It's prestidigitation.
Whoa. I don't know what that word means, but I don't like it.
That's the word of that. That's what magicians perform, like Penn and Teller and David Copperfield. It's prestidigitation. It's drawing your attention to one hand while you're doing something else with the other.
Yeah, no, that's true. No, that's very, very true. And they were doing it with this. And again, thank God for Edward Snowden. I mean, really, if Edward Snowden should be labeled as a hero. Anybody that labels him as a terrorist, to be honest with you,
you're the terrorist.
You don't understand what the word terrorist means.
Yeah, that's one you don't. And two, you don't understand what. Look, the American people weren't aware of this, and he did what he needed to do in order to make sure that the American people are now aware of this stuff.
At the fear of his safety, too, by the way. Like, this is someone who's like, listen, if anyone finds out that I have this stuff before I get to a safe place, I'm dead.
Yeah, they'd have killed him.
You know, so he took, you know, at his own personal safety, knowing that, you know, he was the one that was going to pay the ultimate price if he, you know, if he didn't get to safety before this stuff came out, and still said, no, I have to do it because it's the right thing to do.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it was beautiful, man.
And
beautiful.
And this week, the NSA came out saying that they have reinstated their bulk data collection, even though it was ruled that they do not have the legal authority to do it. They're doing it anyways. They came out with a statement basically saying they're going to do it anyways.
Unbelievable, man. Well, it is what it is. It's what these guys are going to do. So why you have to get people elected that are going to tear these organizations down. Tear them down. Tear them down. Look, everybody that's in charge of the NSA, mass firings. Put in brand new people. Go with it from there.
Whatever, I do what I want.
Yeah. The CIA, honestly, at this point, you want to tear that organization down and not even build it back up. I don't even care at this point. And people need to be fired. I mean, there's so many government employees that need to be fired right now. It's not even funny. the leaders of these organizations should not only be fired, but investigation should be had on them. And if they were caught to have lied to Congress about anything, I don't care if they lied about the time, they should be put in jail, thrown under the jail, as a matter of fact. And they should put a monument of Edward Snowden in front of the CIA and say, from now on, we're going to act like this guy.
Nice.
So that's what happens. Hour number 1's in the bag. Hour number 2's coming up. Liberty Underground, 1787radionetwork.com. We'll be back in a minute.
And you're listening to the 1787 Radio Network.
For many years, libertarian candidates have been up against the political machines of the Democrat and Republican duopoly. Libertarians in Florida lead a machine of their own, and now they have it. The Florida Libertarian PAC was created to support principled, professional candidates here in the state of Florida for local and statewide offices. We are committed to seeing a libertarian victory in the state of Florida. We need you to make that a reality. Visit FloridaLibertarianPAC.com to get information on how you can see a libertarian victory in Florida. Political advertisement paid for by the Florida Libertarian PAC, not in conjunction with any candidates or candidates committee.
Liberty starts with a like. Facebook.com/Liberty Underground.
If you received a ticket in Florida, contact Oropesa Law Offices, 800-774-9883 or tacklemyticket.com. Attorney Oropesa understands the stress associated with being charged with a traffic ticket. In many non-criminal tickets, there may be no court appearance, no points, and no traffic school. Attorney Oropesa handles criminal violations, DUI, and license suspension matters. Don't face these serious legal matters alone. Initial consultation is free. Call now and you will be advised about any potential defense, constitutional rights violations, the possibility of having your driving privileges restored, or preventing a suspension from going into effect. If you've been classified as a habitual traffic offender, have a driver's license suspension matter, or a pending DUI case, call Oropesa Law Offices now so you can be advised about your particular case. Call 1-800-774-9883 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, or visit tacklemyticket.com. Main office in Pinellas County and serving all of the Tampa Bay area. Or tacklemyticket.com. Mention Liberty Underground and get 25% off.
You know Going Postal offers shipping with UPS, FedEx, and DHL International, and they're a full-service post office. And Going Postal is not just your one-stop shop for shipping. They offer copying, laminating, faxing, packaging, and they even have a notary public service. Visit our friends at Going Postal at the following convenient locations: Palm Harbor at the corner of Tampa Road and County Road 1 in the Sweet Bay Plaza, St. Pete on 66th Street just south of Tyrone Boulevard near Publix, and be sure to visit their newest location at 35595 US 19 North at Alderman Road next to Publix in Palm Harbor.
When the unthinkable happens, it doesn't matter if you save money in 15 minutes. It doesn't matter if your neighbor has the same insurance you do. In this matters is the quality of your independent agent and the company that stands behind them. Auto Owners Insurance has been recognized as highest in customer satisfaction with the auto insurance claims experience 5 years in a row by J.D. Power and Associates. For award, go to jdpower.com. Call Row Insurance in Newport Richey today at 727-376-0030.
Oh, we're back, huh?
We're back.
What happened?
I think I got Brandon on the line.
Oh, hey, Brandon, how are you doing, sir?
Oh, very blessed. How's everyone?
I'm doing very well, sir. Well, a lot has been going on this week. I'm curious. Well, actually, the first thing is we were talking about this just in the end of the last hour. But what do you think about the new thing that came out now that shows that Snowden was not only right about the metadata part, but was right about everything else?
Well, we've already done our independent research and talked to other experts, and he is not the first whistleblower. He's just the one that they're exploiting the most. There's been about 6 others that have come out dating back to 2007. So we've already had validation and confirmation that everything he says has been true. what's interesting is just how, I guess, nonchalant the government is, that they barely even react to this kind of news. They barely react to confirmation of the fact that they're storing so much information, passwords. They basically have everything on you, and it's gone on for so long that I guess I've just kind of given up the right kind of, I don't know, a certain aspect of the fight, and it's almost like, well, if we still just treat Snowden as, then no one will really pay attention to it.
Yeah, no, you're right. But now I think that this is and it's weird because you're right. Other whistleblowers have come out and said things. This one is, I think, going to be the one that sticks a little bit more, at least with the American public. With the elected politicians, I'm sure you're going to still, but with the American public, I think more of them now are going to be, they're going to have to face the truth, which is that they are doing this.
Yeah, and I do think that there's been some conflicting reports yet that are really kind of yet to work themselves out, and that is that they kind of make it sound like they still only store things for a period of time, maybe as long as 4 days. Yet, when we researched the Utah data center, back when it really kind of came into fruition and the billions and billions of dollars that were being spent there, the experts and some of the folks that we spoke to really kind of had a contradiction, sort of testimony to that's way much more storage and data space for only 45 minutes. And now maybe that's only because some people's data never gets deleted and they store some of us longer than others. I don't know for sure. They really couldn't speak to that. But I mean, the Utah data center can hold just more information than we can even fathom. So for them to maybe confess that they may be storing stuff for 5 to 45 days, but reality is they have the capacity to store much, much more than that.
Yeah, exactly. Like, you don't make something that big if you're not. What are you going to use it for? I mean, it's not used just for metadata. You didn't need something that big for that. So if you're going to create something and spend that kind of money, obviously you have other intentions. Which, honestly, if anybody looks at this, they should know that this is what they're doing. But the government has been so good at lying about it and about kind of. And again, this is where the issues like the flag things and all these other things kind of distract you from actually taking a solid look at this and really focusing on it. I'm hoping that because of the latest ones that we'll have a lot more people focusing on it and realize what the government's actually doing.
I just want to say one last thing that's fascinating. When we researched this a little bit deeper, when I was including a portion of this in my book that I wrote, the novel that I wrote, was that the biggest problem that they're having technology-wise is actually for the place not to melt down. That it generates so much heat. It is so difficult to keep all of the servers and the massive amount of equipment that they have stable. They've actually had several instances where data's probably been lost because of meltdown, because of the heat. So it's just really something that you can't even possibly imagine how much can be held and the capacity that's in this location in particular in Utah.
Yeah. No, you're exactly right. Now, other things that are going on out there on the top of the Global Dispatch is that you have an article that was talking about how the New York Times is now leading a call for ending tax exemptions for all churches. Can you give me a little bit of information on that one?
Yeah, I mean, I think that this is something we talked about a little bit as this gay marriage argument kind of transpired, was how long until that becomes one of the first steps. If you don't want to comply with recognition or possibly even performing gay marriages or lending out your facilities, then your tax kind of may be called. New York Times didn't waste any time going down this road talking about, and it's a very anti-religion. I mean, I don't think that is the general consensus of the American public. I think this is a far left perspective on things. He's more of a religion hater than I think a fair analysis of including the churches. But I think we're already going to see this. We already see a story that's breaking right now. We'll probably have it up this afternoon as we try to vet a few more things, where you have a school district where the parents are, still pursuing, trying to have an opt-out because the school curriculum now, they're going to institute definitions of homosexuality versus heterosexuality as early as kindergarten. In a completely different way. They're talking about how they're going to be teaching middle schoolers gonorrhea, syphilis. And what the parents are asking for is nothing more than an opt-out, and they voted no. They refused to include an opt-out. So that is the direction that I think will be the first and foremost, is that, targeting the churches in a different way to be more easing of their, I guess, condemnation of gay marriage and putting pressure on them. and then of course, instituting more of a normalization through the school systems.
Well, and look, me and Danielle were actually talking about this on, was it yesterday on the
Yeah,
line?
I think it was yesterday.
Yeah, yesterday. We were actually in the car talking about this. And a couple things came to mind. And you've had religious people, even in Florida, I've heard from a couple people of faith, pastors, even pastors, that are saying that they actually do want to get rid of the tax exempt status that the churches have hindrance. Because it's stopping them from doing whatever they want to do. Because even without the gay marriage thing, there's other rules on if you want to keep a tax exempt status that you have to get out of the conversations on certain
politics.
issues.
There's a lot of things that you have to you basically can't be able to discuss.
So I think that actually, but I don't think that they should necessarily get rid of the tax exempt status. But I think churches should actually start, if they want to if they want to be able to say whatever they want to say, get rid of those things and just kind of move on from there, and that way you're free to do whatever you want to do. Do you not think that that's something that should happen, Brandon?
Well, I don't think we need to force that, right? I mean, I think this is still, we're back to freedom of religion, freedom of speech, freedom of expression, freedom of conscience. So, I don't think that's really, that's the kind of pressure I don't want to see happen. But at the same time, I've always, as we talked about many times on the show, warned that, if you're in bed with the government, which you are through a tax exempt status, you are sort of beholden to the swinging of the pendulum and the tide to public opinion that has made a very drastic turn. If you're sitting in a church that may be facing, $5 million of property taxes every year, I guarantee you're going to be on the radar screen very, very quickly on what you're preaching on, because if they have a reason to rip away your tax exempt status and start collecting that property taxes, it's not the federal government, it is the local government trying to come after you. So, it is going to be a very challenging time for the church to see how that's going to evolve. But I think that's predicted for most of us that are, Bible-believing Christians. We know this was coming. We know that this sort of tide and pressure on the church was coming. We may not have understood exactly how that was going to manifest itself, but we're there.
Yeah. Now, me and Danielle were also talking. Oh, go ahead, Danielle.
No, I mean, I look at it as we can't say that a business who gets an exemption on their taxes to promote the economy is and we see this all the time in Florida. Is Rick Scott gives everybody a tax credit if you'll bring your business down here and create jobs. I mean, this is what his whole plan is.
Jobs.
Yeah, but a tax credit means that you don't pay taxes. I mean, that's what a credit is. It's the same thing. I think that we can't look at any other organization and say, well, if you're told you don't have to pay your taxes, you're in bed with the government. But if I'm told that I don't have to pay my taxes and I'm a church, then I'm not. And so I think that I don't believe that churches should take a tax exempt status. I think that I would say scripturally that align with what we believe as Christians, that we don't want to be in bed with the government, that's not really our job to do, and that we have to, if that means that you have to pay taxes to keep that separation, a true separation of church and state, then I think that's, as a church, we need to take that step and do that voluntarily.
Greg?
I kind of agree with that. I've never quite understood exactly why there's a tax exemption for well,
I'm sorry.
It's just it seems that everything's tied in a lot deeper than what the explanation on the surface as to why the tax exemptions are there. And I don't think that the reasons for giving the tax exemptions align with what's actually going on. So I've never really been supportive of tax exemptions for religious institutions anyway.
Here's the thing, though. Let me just say this, though, before we bring Brandon back in on this. I actually think that there is a solution to this, considering what just happened, that there's a solution to this. Danielle doesn't...
I don't agree with you on
You don't necessarily agree with me on this one, but here's the thing. Here's what I think. Most of the churches, when it comes to the charity work that they're doing, I don't think they're asking people whether they're gay or not. Like, when it comes to the soup kitchens or feeding the poor or, doing their outreach stuff, I don't think that they care if somebody's gay or not. Where they care is in performing marriage ceremonies in the church, and then you said the adoption
services,
adoption
private
services,
school services. They
and private school services,
yeah.
right? So in those three areas, so separate it out.
We probably could list more, because let's just lump a lot of it into participation. That's really the best way to argue, when you're asking me to participate, that's where there seems to be a problem.
Okay, all right, fair enough. I think that's the way to do it. All the other stuff, though, make a non-for-profit or like a charity part, and then you on that stuff. And then all the other stuff, you move yourself out of the 501c3 status there, or whatever the tax exempt status for the churches is. And then the rest of the stuff, you give Caesar his cut on the stuff like that. Don't get me wrong, when it comes to property tax and things like that, nobody should pay that stuff. I don't advocate that the churches should pay it. I advocate that nobody should have to pay property taxes on that kind of stuff. However, if it push came to shove, though, having that separation in the church where all the charity stuff is underneath one organization and all the other stuff, the participation stuff, I guess, is underneath another designation, that would actually at least try to limit some of the damage that you're going to get. Because, look, in all honesty, you're going to give it to the government. They're going to... you're going to give it to the government. They're going to screw...
I look at it from a Christian standpoint that if you're working that, then, and that would be a lot of work, and would be a lot of work. But when you're working that hard to evade taxes, to me, that just seems wrong and against scripturally what we believe. That, we now have to worry about working to evade taxes. We can keep more of the money and things like that. And to me, if money becomes that important to the church, then they've lost their way.
Brandon, go ahead.
Well, I have to agree with a lot of that. I don't think our church is going to balk at the tax exemption. That's not going to slow us down from doing our mission for God. But what you're asking us to do with your tax proposal would be a very convoluted mess, determining, what is charitable, what is not, what would be in the 503C category, what would not. We give money to missionaries. So missionaries are doing, poverty and stricken areas all over the globe. Does that count or not count? So then you end up into like a bookkeeping nightmare and a whole tax, now I'm paying lawyers. I'm moving the money around. So yeah, I might be saving money over here, but now I'm spending it over here and all that. And that may be a reality that they do that because it would actually create a burden for the smaller churches. The smaller the church, the less likely they're going to be able to handle all this. The more likely that they'll concede, or give in quicker. And I think that's what the government may be looking for. But at the end of the day, it's a separate mission. Our mission to God and what we're called to follow Christ is a completely separate thing. And how it applies to the community has been rewarded through the tax exemption for years. Now, have we drifted away from that? Yeah, probably. Most things are being abused if it involves the government. So, reality is soup kitchens and things that you talked about have a strong benefit to those communities. But also, religious-based hospitals, religious-based adoption groups, things like that are leading the way in some communities, and they're going to be penalized by this. And we've seen that already through Obamacare. Just the fact that there's an abortion mandate and some of these different things have already created burdens for some of those groups. So, again, this is something that we kind of know is coming. This is how it's manifesting, and the church has to kind of, buckle up and get ready to, decide how they want to, stand for Christ.
Yeah. Very interesting times, man. Very, very interesting times. I don't think anybody actually knows what is going to be the result of the next 10 years, but we're in it is weird in the fact that we're looking down the road and you really don't know how all this stuff is going to end up on all these different issues. It's not just one issue. I'm talking about everything. Is that how is this stuff going to end up at the end of the day, and where's the American people going to be? Because you see how quickly you can go from that. There's going to be, like, for the gay marriage thing is a great instance there. You could see where the numbers when it came to support of was at a low level and then just shot up like a rocket. Was it because everybody actually changed their mind, or was it because that part of, if we're going to have it for one, you got to have it for everybody, was already kind of there, and it didn't show itself up until, I guess, opinion polls started changing, and then it kind of snowballed. Like, what was the cause for a lot of these things to rapidly change public opinion on it? You know what I'm saying? You guys know what I mean by that?
Well, I don't think public opinion rapidly changed. I think that the reporting on public opinion and that we're getting information so much quicker, so much more information than we ever had before. And what happens is once I think most people always had the same feelings they've always had. I don't think society has changed their personal views all that much. I think for the most part, everybody was quiet about their personal views because you never knew what everybody else was thinking. Now, everybody knows what everybody's thinking all the time, so you're much more open with your own views.
Well, and another thing that came out, there was another report that came out where they said that people that would consider themselves to be Christians represent 70 of the population in the United States. I think that was the number. Is that out of 10 people, 7 out of the 10 go, yeah, well, I'm a Christian. You know what I mean? Like, but even then, though, if you take that number and take it into consideration of the people that do support same-sex marriage, there's a lot of people that would identify themselves as Christian that actually do think that they should have things like same-sex marriage. Like, it's weird how you have that 70% number out there, but the majority of the people agree that the government, basically, well, if we're going to recognize it, then recognize it for everybody.
Well,
Do you understand what I'm with the kind of the differences in the numbers there?
Well, I think the first thing we do is recognize that number's down. I mean, 70% maybe is a figure today, but it was as high as 89%, 20 years ago. So there's already been a shift in that direction away from traditional religious structure. You're seeing a rise of other denominations and other religions. You're seeing liberal split in even major denominations, Lutheran Church, for instance, where they have a very modern 2015 liberal interpretation of Scripture that really is definitely much more wide open and accepting, and not taking the Bible literal. But you also have to go back, and I really have to disagree with Danielle. I think a lot has transpired, especially over the last 5 years, when you have, Dharma and Greg's getting a lot of credit for what they started in television, but now you have TV and movies who have just instituted homosexuality and relationships and things pretty widespread. I mean, this generation of children that are coming up will never know a world where it wasn't commonplace, similar to the way, we grew up in a world where interracial relationships was pretty well normalized. We don't really think anything about it. I think that's going to be the case. I think that's why we see the big change in public opinion. When you put stuff out there and the world doesn't come to an end, because that's what a lot of fear-mongering has done, people realize, well, that person's a little bit crazy. There's really nothing to fear here. There's nothing to really worry about. It doesn't affect me, so yeah, I'm all right with it. But I think most of the surveys that we've looked at that really start to divide the numbers up is about a third of the population is for it, about a third of the population is against it, and a third doesn't really care. So depending on how you want to poll that third that don't care, is how you get this big swing back and forth. And the reality is, it's kind of a done deal. There's not a lot we can do, and I think now it's navigating society with the relationship with the church, how the church can still function and be a benefit to society to lead people to the kingdom, but also to try to maintain some sort of legal relationship with the government and find a way to how alter their businesses, so to speak, which is really what's going to be the interesting dynamic for churches.
No, I mean, and I do think that even in the Christian community, there's many people that do support gay marriage. I mean, I'm one of them. The day on Friday when the ruling came out, many of the people that I went to church with and that, I've known for years and are still very active in the church. And in fact, most of my church came out and also, said it was a great victory for gay people, and they completely support it. So I do are many Christians that do support it, and I think that's why you see that differential in the numbers. But and to what you're saying, Brandon, I think we agree and disagree at the same time. I think that public opinion I think most people still don't. They didn't care before. They still don't care. And I think that it came on TV because we started to realize that people don't care. And I think, I don't know what came first, but I think that you're seeing it more because people realize, most people just don't care about these things. They don't seem to be, there's a small percentage that are very for it, a small percentage that is very against it, but for the majority of people just don't care either way. So they push the envelope to see, am I going to get pushback, knowing that most people don't care.
Greg?
I think that public opinion's been changing for a long time. And, the religions are split on this. I mean, they're at least as far as Christianity goes, and I mean it's split on everything. Right. This isn't the only issue; it's split on, and that may be part of the reason why it doesn't really control the conversation the way it used to on this topic, because of the division within the churches as to how they feel about this. And once that division really started showing itself, that's when the public conversation really started to change. I think that what Brandon says definitely has some legitimacy to it as far as TV and movies and them normalizing this and what we see in the media. but I think that a lot of people possibly held these opinions already, but didn't speak out because their church said different. And, then once their church changed opinion, they felt more comfortable coming out and saying this within that company. Because I know there are several people that I know who attend churches that are against gay marriage and are against homosexuality, and they disagree with their church on that. But they agree with a lot of other does, and they like the people they attend church with and that they work with, so they go to that church. And they would love nothing more than for their church to align with their personal feelings, but they're not going to let that create a rift. So I think there's a lot at play here. I don't think there's any one thing that we can point out that kind of defines this change, but I think all of us are kind of hitting on different points that play a role in this.
Brandon?
No, I mean, I think that's, it's kind of a good synopsis of both sides what we were just discussing. And I think this, and again, I'm going to go back to the Bible kind of predicts this. The Bible predicts about the church being separated, being split and severed, about false teachings, about different doctrines rising up. I'm not saying this is exactly one of those, but I feel like that it is definitely part of a larger problem the church will face ahead as different calamities and crises come and will be very contradictory to what God's message is.
Well, and and I think what happens, and I think we see this a lot, and I know that I've seen it over the years, throughout kind of, because my church has kind of shifted, not shifted beliefs, but, shifted who's there and things like that, and gone from very big to several small and things like that. But I think that when, I think us read the same scriptures and then take it very differently. And I think that that's where you see that everyone is believing that they're scripturally accurate. But the scriptures are written in a way where, and you do read it differently from different people. A lot of the same scriptures that some Christians are reading as a, condemnation on homosexuality, I'm not reading the same way. And, and so I think that is where some of this, if you look at some of the Hebrew words in to the English, that you kind of look at it and say, well, I don't think that means the same thing as you're seeing there. And I think that that's where some of these divides go, where nobody is doing it to be, well, I want to be politically correct and I want to be, more in tune with the public. It's that I'm reading those scriptures and I'm not seeing the same you. And I think that's where some of the divide is coming. And I don't think anyone has bad, I think there are people that have bad motives, but I think for the most people, most Christians are looking at it and reading the same scriptures and just reading it differently.
All right, fair enough. All right, let's get into the next thing, which it's on Brandon's website by theglobal.dispatch.com. And it's not really a religious thing, even though it's kind of funny. It's a category. And this is weird news that doesn't actually involve Florida at all, by the way. Like, I'm just kind of happy that I could actually mention a weird news article that didn't actually mention the state of Florida. Kudos, that much digging that you had to dig that far to get past all the Florida weird news to get to the Ohio weird news.
There'll probably be one that I'll post this afternoon, so, I can't get too excited.
It won't last. All right, there's an Ohio customers are protesting the Sweet Baby Jesus beer because it got pulled from a shelf in a grocery store. So there's this beer called Sweet Baby Jesus, and the beer itself is actually chocolate and peanut butter. It's a chocolate and peanut butter beer. And it says Sweet Baby Jesus right on the thing. It's really funny, actually. I mean, it looks very, very funny. And I would never drink a beer, though. I got to tell you, though, I don't care. I would never drink a beer that was chocolate and peanut butter. I mean, if that's the
You
case,
don't want your Reese's Cups in your beer?
No, I don't. I don't want to be able to get drunk off of chocolate and peanut butter. Like, it would ruin chocolate and peanut butter for me. So, but one of the stores actually pulled this stuff off of the shelves. This is beer in their stores in Illinois and Ohio. It was, pulled because
nobody liked it.
They said it was a non-issue. They had no comment on it. But the beer, it's made by Duclaw Brewing Company in Maryland, combines chocolate and peanut butter flavors, and it was named for a positive response it got at the first taste. So I guess what happened was these guys put this beer together. They drank it and like, oh, Sweet Baby Jesus is a good beer. Like, I guess that's how it went down, but now they're pulling this from the shelves, though. What did you think about this one, Brandon?
Well, I mean, I think that when you title your beer "Sweet Baby Jesus," you have to know you may not make a lot of friends in certain circles, and I think that's really kind of at the heart of the story, even though it was kind of a humorous angle on the struggles of a small brewery trying to come up with a nice niche with their basically a Reese's flavored beer. But yeah, it was an interesting sort of angle on things. I really hadn't seen it really covered too many places, and then we kind of threw that out there.
Yeah, I this one is just really funny though. By the way, like I really found a lot of humor in this story, just because And again, I kind of figured that's how they got the name of it, where somebody was like, "Wow, like you take a drink of something, like, oh boy, that was good."
Yeah, but I don't know. You could use that term to be. It could be like, "Oh, sweet baby Jesus, nobody should have ever made this."
Sweet baby Jesus,
okay,
that's nasty.
Okay, you know what though, you got a point there though. It was a positivity thing, though.
But I'm just saying that could have gone either way.
If it went the negative way, though, I don't think the guys that made the beer would actually be selling it to everybody else, though, right? I mean, like, in that aspect, I don't think they're going to say, "Well, this thing sucks all day long. It sucks so bad I had to curse. Let's go out and sell it, though. Let's bottle this thing up because I'm sure people are going to want to buy it." Like,
and we go to a lot of craft breweries, and we went over the summer, and we still like to go. And I have to say that some of them really do make their beer out on purpose.
So what we do? No, because there's niche markets of bad beer. I mean, it's just the way it is. Another thing. Now we're going to go way off a topic here, real quick though. But that you actually did have a review of the Terminator movie Genesis. Is that right?
Yeah, we saw it on Tuesday. Definitely had a mixed response to it. It was good to see the franchise return to the big screen, but it is a kind of a time travel mess from a plot standpoint when you create contradictions, and we've seen this a lot with different time travel movies over the years, and Back to the Future, and it's almost got like a Bill and Ted couple moments where, like, I guess I better remember to do this later on, kind of thing. It's an all right film, but it's going to be a disaster for the studio because it's not going to make anywhere near the money it needs to. Because they had two more films that were already written. This was bought and purchased as a trilogy. I don't foresee either one of those movies going forward, at least not right now.
Oh, really? So you don't think this thing's going to make a lot of money then?
Well, it may make a lot of money, but not relative to the amount of investment and the cost that goes into making a film like this, because the CGI and stuff is extraordinary. There's a lot of great scenes. But a lot of the nuances of what made Terminator 2 the best film of the franchise are completely lost, even though they're some of the nostalgia from the early films. To me, it just felt very flat with a lot of really bad plot lines and storylines that didn't really go anywhere.
Really? Okay.
Do you think Terminator 2 is the best one of the franchise?
Well, I think because it's so rewatchable. I mean, obviously the first one is very groundbreaking and does some really, really cool things. But at the same time, the second one really kind of ramped up the franchise on a whole new level, especially with the technology that James Cameron was able to introduce. And I think it keeps more of a suspenseful level better than any other film, to the point where I think it's rewatchable and kind of a big fan favorite.
Okay.
All right, that's a very fair analysis of the Terminator franchise. I actually like not this one, but the latest one before that, the one with Christian Bale and all those other guys.
I haven't even seen that one.
Oh, I actually
like that one.
Yeah, I like that one.
Now, last week Brandon talked about Inside Out and that being this really good movie. We watched it over this past week and I loved it.
Yeah.
I really thought it was a great movie. I was so entertained, and the kids were too. There were so many differences that if you're a parent, you're going to just find, just so funny. And the kids kind of look at it, and they do maybe funny faces or, it's not only animated because it's actually from Pixar and animated, but it's there, everything is kind of over-exaggerated, so the kids kind of find it funny because of the over-exaggeration of these things. But there's so many references that are really in there for the parents. I found it to be a really, really great movie.
Cool. That's good.
Well, I think that's what made it a great movie, because it is just very thoughtful. It's a very interesting way to tell a coming-of-age story. Mm-hmm. And because it has such a deeper level, the kids that are watching it now and grow up with this film will only grow with their appreciation as they start to have their own children, parent their own children, and go through some of those experiences for the first time themselves.
Yeah, I thought it was really, really well done.
I actually think it's promoting schizophrenia, and I'm going to oppose it.
Well, what's funny to me is In 1995, Pixar put out What If Toys Had Feelings? 1998, What If Bugs Had Feelings? 2001, What If Monsters Had Feelings? 2003, What If Fish Had Feelings? 2004, What If Superheroes Had Feelings? 2006, What If Cars Had Feelings? 2007, What If Rats Had Feelings? 2008, What If Robots Had Feelings? 2009, What If Dogs Had Feelings? 2012, What If Scotland Had Feelings? 2015, What If Feelings Had Feelings? And that's these Pixar movies, and I think they've kind of reached the end of the well at this point.
You think they jumped the shark with the last
Well,
one?
dinosaurs are next. So dinosaurs are having feelings next.
What if dinosaurs had feelings?
I have to say, the feelings having feelings, and the kids talked about it the whole way home because now they're like, well, you could combine this feeling and get this one, and so they were like, it was, because we go with we had two boys, so like it's all about Legos now. We could put these two together and make something else.
There you go. Brandon, is there anything else that you wanted to hit on?
No, I'm just still mourning the loss of Dukes of Hazzard that is being exponentially banned from all of culture and society now. It's just ridiculous.
Yeah, that is ridiculous, by the way. Come on now. The Dukes of Hazzard, you can't do that.
I'm finding it on DVD this weekend and buying it.
Yeah.
I know. I think all of us are scurrying around. My wife goes, at least we have one season. We have, we're all scurrying around trying to grab up our Dukes of Hazzard paraphernalia, which will now go through the roof on prices on eBay. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Political correctness.
Yeah.
You know who the winner is? Anyone who has something Dukes of Hazzard related, because the value of it just quadrupled.
Maybe it was a bunch of people that had Dukes of Hazzard stuff that actually said, we have an opportunity here to really make some money. I know it's going to sound weird, guys. This is what happened. No. I'm gonna lay out exactly what happened right now. Hold on. So all the people that are holding on to all the Dukes of Hazzard swag are all in one room. And this is what goes. All right, guys. Like, everybody is here about the flag thing. Got an idea. All right, follow me on this one. We're gonna boycott TV Land to Dukes of Hazzard. When they do that, man, people are gonna go buy all of our stuff. Hold on. I swear it's gonna work. Everybody's gonna love to go do it. So, okay, Bill, you got all the DVDs, man. Get them all ready to go. All right. Bob, you got all the T-shirts. All right, you worry about all the T-shirts. All right, Jim, you worry about all the action figures. Put the Daisy Duke one down, you sick bastard. Let's. Okay, you guys ready? Let's do this. So that's how I think it went down.
You think that's what it is? It's a grand conspiracy.
It's a grand conspiracy. I'm going with it. I don't know if Brandon agrees with me, though. I don't think he does.
Well, imagine how much a metal Dukes of Hazzard lunchbox is worth now.
Oh, yeah, right?
Because the metal ones got banned. And
John Schneider is a regular at many of the Comic-Cons, and I've seen him sign like the actual little die-cast General Lees and things like that. So there's people out there now are sitting there with a very tough emotional decision whether they're going to be selling that on eBay or not over the next 2 weeks.
Well, yeah, but here's the thing, though. I don't think you can sell it on eBay, though, right?
Well, I'm sure that eBay is going to still allow some of that. If not, there's always a way to get through it. And even Facebook has yard sale sites and things like that now that people can cash in.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. All right. Good to go then. All right. His name is. Website is theglobaldispatch.com. Brandon, thank you so much, brother. We'll talk to you next week.
Have a happy 4th weekend and talk hard.
Talk hard. All right. Well, we'll take a break here for a minute. The music's already ready to go. All right. We'll be back. We'll finish up the show. You're listening to Liberty Underground.
is Gary Johnson, and you're listening to the 1787 Radio Network.
For many years, libertarian candidates have been up against the political machines of the Democrat and Republican duopoly. Libertarians in Florida needed a machine of their own, and now they have it. The Florida Libertarian PAC was created to support principled, professional candidates here in the state of Florida for local and statewide offices. We are committed to seeing a libertarian victory in the state of Florida. We need you to make that a reality. Visit FloridaLibertarianPAC.com to get information on how you can see a libertarian victory in Florida. Political advertisement paid for by the Florida Libertarian PAC, not in conjunction with any candidates or candidates committee.
Liberty starts with a like. .com/Liberty Underground.
If you received a ticket in Florida, contact Oropesa Law Offices, 800-774-9883 or tacklemyticket.com. Attorney Oropesa understands the stress associated with being charged with a traffic ticket. In many non-criminal ticket cases, there may be no court appearance, no points, and no traffic school. Attorney Oropesa handles DUI, and license suspension matters. Don't face these serious legal matters alone. Initial consultation is free. Call now and you will be advised about any potential defense, constitutional rights violations, the possibility of having your driving privileges restored, or preventing a suspension from going into effect. If you've been classified as a habitual traffic offender, have a driver's license suspension matter, or a pending DUI case, call Oropesa Law Offices now so you can be advised about your particular case. Call 1-800-774-9883 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, or visit tacklemyticket.com. Main office in Pinellas County and serving all of the Tampa Bay area. Find out more at tacklemyticket.com. Mention Liberty Underground and get 25% off.
You know, Going Postal offers shipping with UPS, FedEx, and DHL International, and they're a full-service post office. And Going Postal is not just your one-stop shop for shipping. They offer copying, laminating, faxing, packaging, and they even have a notary public service. Visit our friends at Going Postal at the following convenient locations: Palm Harbor at the corner of Tampa Road and County Road 1 in the Sweet Bay Plaza, St. Pete on 66th Street just south of Tyrone Boulevard near Publix, and be sure to visit their newest location at 35595 US 19 North at Alderman Road next to Publix in Palm Harbor.
It doesn't matter if you save money in 15 minutes. It doesn't matter if your neighbor has the same insurance you do. In this moment, what matters is the quality of your independent agent and the company that stands behind them. Auto Owners Insurance has been recognized as highest in customer satisfaction with the auto insurance claims experience 5 years in a row by J.D. Power and Associates. For award information, go to jdpower.com. Call Row Insurance at Ritchie today at 727-376-0030.
All right, we're back. During the break, we were actually discussing the and the hard time that libertarians have playing the game SimCity.
It's difficult to stay a libertarian when you're playing SimCity.
It is. Me and Greg both play him, and so and it is like these people. Oh, all your people moved out. You didn't upgrade the road. Well, they could have done it.
Yeah. All I'm gonna do is hire a private contractor. Why can't you do it?
Cost me $10,000. It's this little 1-inch piece of road. They could have fixed that themselves. So mad.
Nothing tests libertarian principles like playing SimCity.
Okay, we're going to get into the Cuban thing here. We're going to get into the Cuban thing here, but I do want to mention something else. Is that we now have an official record that 93,626,000 people, Americans, are not in the labor force. The participation rate declines to 62%.
And that's actually the lowest that it's been in the past 38 years.
Yeah.
So we're at the lowest labor participation rate than we have been in 38 years. It's a horrendous.
But just to show you how much the government's screwing you over, they dropped the unemployment rate.
Well, because people dropped out of the job market, and that's what their new. I mean, it's not new. I mean, it's been in place for about 10 years or 15 years now. But they redid the algorithm so that as soon as someone dropped out of participating in the workforce, they just didn't get counted as unemployed anymor.
Yeah.
Well, now that you've got Obama phones and Obamacare, nobody needs to work anymore because it's all being provided, right?
Well, no, boy, that's very, very true, by the way. That's so damn true, it's not even funny. Like, we're dealing with unemployment levels that are close to what you had near the Great Depression.
Yeah. Absolutely.
But because of the advent of the welfare state, that there's not soup lines, like there's not the what's the word for it? The misery that's supposed to be for things like this aren't recognized by the American public because the government has done such a good job of being able to mask it, for lack of a better term. You know what I mean? Like they give you the card and you can just go out and get what you want with the card.
And you look just like everybody else.
Yeah, and you look just like everybody else. But and again, look, making sure that people are better taken care of, or that the misery is less affected, or people are less affected by misery, in some ways I don't necessarily think is a bad thing in and of itself. But the problem is that what this does is it's a politician protection program.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because nobody's pissed off enough to want to replace everybody.
Well, no, absolutely. You know, you also have, you know, like Margaret Thatcher said, at some point you run out of other people's money.
Yeah.
And
let's just keep printing it.
I mean, you know, but at some point, well, and everything just goes up, and it's a vicious cycle. You know, I mean, and at some point, if the labor participation rate continues to decline, that means, and we every year taxes decline, everything declines. So at some point, something has to give. You can't keep borrowing the money because you're running out of other people's money to give to the people who lost their job because you regulated their job out of existence. So, I mean, at some point, something has to give, and we're definitely going to see that correction. And it's not going to, because nobody's up there going, okay, we have to start correcting these things in small increments. The correction is going to come, and it's going to be massive, and it's going to be quick.
Yeah, no, that's very, very true, by the way. That's very true. And it's sad, but that's, again, we're asking for it. We're the ones that are asking for this crap.
And when we've got trade deals like the TPP coming through, where Obama refused to allow the amendment that would prevent the nations that are involved in the slave trade from being, you know, locked out of this, you know, how can we compete with slave labor? We can't.
Right.
You know, and Obama fought to make sure that provision was not in the TPP.
Yeah, it's sad.
So progressive.
Yeah. Yeah, these guys need to quit, you know, smelling their own farts. You know, thinking their own farts don't stink. I mean, it really is sad that what we have going on with, not just with Obama, but with the entire Democrat and Republican politicians that we have up there. Because again, these guys are all in on it together. I don't care what they say publicly. Privately, they're all in on it together. They all like each other together. I mean, hell, it's not even that private anyway. You know, Jeb Bush gave Hillary Clinton like a Freedom Award. Like,
right. How
much are they against the sides willing to give the other side an award? You know, and this wasn't even that long ago.
And they like donate to each other. And how much has the Bush family, like all of them, given to the Clinton Foundation? And
quite a lot of money. I mean, and that's the thing is, you know, all of these people are donating to each other. They're all helping each other. You know, as soon as they're all fighting and everything when the camera's on, and then they're all out to dinner and friends. And we know this. And, you know, we know it happens in Tallahassee. It happens in Washington. It happens everywhere. These guys are friends. And as much as you know, you may see some fighting when the cameras are on, just know that as soon as that camera turns off, they're like, "Hey, you want to go get drinks?"
Yeah,
I just got some Cuban cigars.
Yeah, well, yeah. And the last issue that we're going to bring up here is that and this is something that the president was right on, by the way, is to try to normalize relations with Cuba. Now. And I'm sure most people on this thing know that we have not had a good relationship with Cuba since, you know, Bay of Pigs. It's been going south, you know, from that point moving forward. And that our thought of how to have a regime change, because the regime is absolutely a dictatorship. It's a horrible regime. I don't support anything that they're doing. But if your goal is to replace that regime, then you have to realize that the policy that we've been using for the past 50-something years has been a failure. I mean, just been an outright failure. There's no getting around that. Is there anybody that can question whether that's been effective or not?
No.
No, I don't think it's a question that Cuba has declined in everything, especially human rights.
It's like a snapshot of 1953. It's like a Hogwarts painting of 1953 in Cuba.
Yeah. But the thing is that when you do an embargo like you have, the only people that you're actually empowering is the dictators.
Right.
You're not empowering the individual, the people there, nor if you're not able to trade with them or you're able to visit with them, can you actually kind of show them what freedom really means so that they can have the motivation that they need in order to, fight to be free. We can't fight these battles for these other people. They have to fight these battles themselves, like we did. Why we're celebrating Independence Day, because we freedom. It wasn't that we had to come in and try to say, well, you need to be free, so let's occupy you, and we'll bring troops in there.
Kind of did, but
well, not really though.
Really did.
What do you mean? Explain it though.
Because we would not have won without the French at all.
Okay.
We had no chance.
Okay, no. You're right, but that was not initiated by the French. That was initiated by us.
That was initiated by us, right?
And
we
that's
asked
the difference.
for help.
Well, that's a big difference there. And it ain't like France came and stayed. You know what I mean? Like they supplied us, and they brought some troops in too. But it wasn't like what we were trying to do, like in Iraq and Afghanistan.
Right. I mean, they didn't come in and occupy and say, "We're coming here to make you free."
Yeah, and then we're going to hold your elections,
and bomb your whole village,
and we'll pick the people.
That's what the British were doing.
And we'll pick the people in charge that's part of a country that we really hate. You know what I mean? Which is what they did in Iraq. I mean, honestly, the guy was more of an Iranian than an Iraqi guy, and they brought him over to lead the whole thing. Like, that's going to work out well. I mean,
it's like the French coming in, fighting our revolution for us, and then putting a Canadian in his president.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're welcome.
So, if you understand that our relationship for the past 50 years has not worked to actually get rid of the dictator, then you have to look at possibly that our foreign policy was wrong and that we need to adjust our foreign policy in order to get the result that we're looking for. However, and again, look, a broken clock is right twice a day. Obama was right. And I think he's probably right for the wrong reasons, but he was right in lifting the ban and starting to have, embassies and relations and lifting the travel ban and trying to get and all this stuff. And the Republicans, in classic neocon fashion, have decided that, well, that's absolutely the wrong move, and so we need to make sure we double down on the sanctions because they've been working so effectively because, Fidel Castro died while in office. It's not like he was removed because, did he? He ain't even died yet.
He has not died. He
but
gave up his.
He got
office.
so old because
he's sick. He's in, and it's very, very funny.
It could happen any day.
Yeah, he's got cancer. Yeah. He's very sick, but his brother took over because he said,
can't do this anymore." So, if you realize that policy has been a complete failure, how about we try something else? But the people like Rubio and the neocons are so hell-bent on proving that their view of foreign policy is correct, even though time after time after time it's been proven to be incorrect. They're so in bed with this that they will just continue it no matter what. And they will be, for lack of a better term, obstructionists when it comes to actually even allowing for an ambassador, which will put us in like a little bit of a limbo on this thing. But they're just wrong.
Well, they're definitely wrong. And for all the people, because I see a lot of people that are upset that we're, normalizing relations in Cuba. And they're like, oh, well, you're forgetting that they're this dictatorship and they do this to their people and they do that to the people. Then if you want to be intellectually honest about this, and listen, there are horrible things going on in Cuba. You better not buy anything on almost any shelf that's made in China, which means you're going to buy nothing. Because if you want to talk about let's not help these evil regimes that are hurting their people, stop buying things from China because China's atrocities are just as bad.
Yeah,
if
not worse.
So, nobody's being intellectually honest about this. Well, we have to keep these embargoes on Cuba because they're doing these horrible things. But, let's have normal relations with China because they're doing worse. You have to be honest about these things, and that's what we're lacking. I don't even think we can start to fix these things until people start being intellectually consistent and honest with their beliefs. You don't want normal relations with Cuba, and you have no real idea why you don't want relations with Cuba. Only reason is, well, because it's always been that way, or it's been that way for this long. There's no real reason behind it because your reason doesn't make sense because of all the other people who do just as horrible things that we do trade with.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I don't understand how I think that's the part that kills me is the hypocrisy.
Mm-hmm.
Is that you're going to be so mad and have such a, well, we have to do this on one side, but then not really give a crap on the other side, though. Like, well, it's China. What are you going to do? We buy a lot of stuff from them. Like,
we get a lot of profit margin out of China.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, and they have a lot of our debt, too. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, listen, in China, they're paying, children 9 cents a day to make your Nikes, but that's okay. But Cuba and their, horrible regime, that's bad. We can't trade with them. But I want the Nikes made by child labor at 9 cents a day.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Because Nikes are cool.
Yeah.
If Cuba made Nikes, we'd have this all settled.
Yeah, exactly. They just need to make sportswear. That's their problem.
Maybe that's what it is. Maybe.
They make cigars, and Americans are like anti-smoking.
Well, they love Cuban cigars, though. People love Cuban cigars.
They're illegal. As soon as relations normalize, nobody cares.
These Cuban cigars suck.
They're going to be smoking Black and Milds, and they're not going to give a damn.
They're going to be smoking Black and Milds, and they don't even give a damn. It's just funny. That's all. That people are getting so bent out of shape about this. And again, I think that normalizing relationships is the quickest way that we can get to actually a regime change over there. I really believe that.
Yeah,
I firmly believe that is the quickest way to do it. Now, look, ultimately it happens, but it's never ever going to happen the other way. And in all honesty, not only is it never going to happen, you strengthen dictatorship with the embargoes. There's no getting around that. The problem here, and this is the bigger problem that is not necessarily being talked about, is that you have a neocon ideology that has been in place in this country since World War II, and that this is part of it, and that we have to dismantle the neocons and the influence that they have when it comes to our foreign policy, and they are deep rooted in it right now. They control it. They control it so much that it was the same thing for Obama as it was for Bush. As Obama is as much of a neocon as, if not more so. The only advantage that people like Obama is that the media doesn't hold them accountable for it like they hold the Republicans accountable for it. And Obama will do things that are much more sinister in a much more behind-the-scenes kind of way. Like, he tries to hide it. But, look, drone bombings went up tremendously under Obama. The number of innocent casualties when it came to those drone bombs went up under Obama. Whether the left wants to admit that or not, that your Nobel Peace Prize winner has done as much damage over there than Bush did. And I know it sounds weird to say it that way. However, I got one word for you: ISIS. ISIS, while the conditions were created by the Bush administration, and I will freely grant you that is the case, it is the Obama administration that was in charge when they armed them. Mm-hmm. No getting around that, by the way. Obama armed the terrorists. He didn't do it directly, and it wasn't only him. It wasn't like he was sitting in the back of a truck over in Syria going, hey, man, look at all the stuff I got here. It didn't go down that way. It went down of the CIA gave him the arms. McCain went over there, took a selfie with him because, you got to have a selfie with terrorists now in order for everything to be legit. That's what happened. And they gave him the arms. They went over into Iraq. Now, because we armed them all in Iraq, we armed that military over in Iraq, and we armed the wrong people there, too. They went over and grabbed all the weapons up, and now they have resorts.
Here's the thing. There's is that we keep arming the wrong people. Let's just start because obviously we're not good at it.
Yeah. That is actually a very good way of saying it, and I do appreciate that you had said that.
But we're the biggest arms dealer in the history of the world. What are we going to do if we don't keep selling weapons?
I guess you got a point there, too, by the way.
And in Pinellas County, they'd be hurt real bad. They got, Raytheon is over there.
Oh, yeah. What, are you trying to destroy my home county? Nobody's going to have jobs.
The Halliburton's over there, and they got everybody.
They better start building a job cannon there, Raytheon.
Oh, you shouldn't have said that, man. Rick Scott is going to be calling Raytheon right now trying to get a job cannon. God, now we got to hear job cannon for the next 6 months. Damn it, Greg. Why would you do this? Why on earth would you do this, Greg?
We just decided to make a job cannon.
Yeah, what I did was I wanted to thank the contractor Raytheon because they have made the job cannon, and now we'll be able to have the most jobbiest jobs in the world.
But who is was asking you about same-sex marriage.
That is actually kind of funny. That is actually kind of funny. That is totally funny, by the way. All right, guys. Well, the website 87network.com, 1787network.com. You can get old show updates. Happy trash going on in that website. Out, let us know what you think. We will see you guys next week.
With the rifle in his hand,